This is like me right here where I grew up at, Campbell Village. We're on 8th and Campbell. This is pretty much it right here. This is where the legend started at, I guess.
Like we pals, cause they my friends. Seen a lot of others make it, even though it seemed forsaken. Even though people be hating, saying that I'm crazy, maybe. So like my mama told me, gotta hold some sort of skill. I pray to the Lord for real, that I don't catch a stray. I practice every day. I don't wanna grow up, but I know I will. Gotta hustle now, can't let the hood hold me down. But I love Oaktown.
Toughness and determination, the heart and soul of Oakland, built and inhabited by honest, industrious people. Oakland's diversity is matched only by its storied history. It is here on these streets where the Black Panthers revolutionized, where drug kingpins thrived and eventually died, where names like Russell, Peyton, and Kidd achieved immortal status, truly making basketball the town game.
This is where my dream started as a kid in 2nd grade or 3rd grade, dreaming to be a basketball player.
Basketball in Oakland was our life.
You can find some run anywhere in Oakland, so it was always run all the time.
I mean, it was a way of life. Wherever it was good players, that's where we were.
First thing you learn is how to get your butt kicked first.
Rough, real rough.
Being knocked down, having cuts or falling on the concrete, you learn very quickly, what you could do or what you could get away with.
You knew there was this pride and this roughness about the people that came out of there, and we took pride in continuing that lineage.
We have representatives that have made it.
Man, it's a dream come true.
That have made it and then fell off. And guys that probably should have made it and didn't, and the decisions that they made that led to that.
But what leads one man down the righteous path while another is unable to find the light? It is this enduring battle between right and wrong being waged on the streets of Oakland every day. And it is this reality which was thrust upon Demetrius Hook Mitchell and Leon Poe early in life.
You always got two choices in life, man. You either got a left or right. Which way you gonna go?
Make the left turn like Hook. There was no place to go. He was consumed by the neighborhood. He couldn't get out of the neighborhood. Whereas Leon and the Leon of the world who transfer their ability and their own drive inside them to make a better life.
While that life was never guaranteed to Leon Poe, Hook Mitchell appeared destined for stardom from the beginning, his legend spreading through the streets of Oakland.
Hearing about him, and just, hearing stories about him jumping over cars, over bikes, motorcycles.
I thought he was like the Loch Ness Monster or Santa Claus or, a unicorn. I didn't know if he really existed. I didn't believe the fables of the great Hook Mitchell.
Hook was the schoolyard rumor. I mean, it was, you got to see him. You got to see him.
You name it, Hook can do it. Speed, strength, intelligence, charismatic, a leader. He could have been anything.
You see this short 5-0 kid, but you can tell he's just an athletic phenomenon.
Everybody knew I can always jump, but then once I dunked, one time, man, it was like something special. And then, like, that next 6 months, I started transcending dunking, because like my 11th grade year, I was throwing the ball off the glass and everything. I mean, I just took it into a whole nother level.
He wanted to dunk on somebody, and he didn't care who you were. He didn't care if you were 6'9". If you were in the way and he wanted to dunk, he was going at you.
I've seen him put his elbows in the rim, and he was just in the 8th grade. Elbows in the rim.
If we're in Acorn, in the middle of Acorn, where they have that full court, and he was playing, the word just kind of got out. Before you know it, it was just everybody just ooh, and they just couldn't wait to see what he was going to do next, because it was going to always be something crazy.
That was kind of like an attraction. People were saying, okay, they used to come up here 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning saying, okay, yeah, Hook gonna be up there today.
Playing ball with him, I wouldn't have traded him as a guard for anybody.
He was a winner. He always wanted to win. He hated losing. And so you always knew if you were on his team that you had to play your best.
He was a smart basketball player. His basketball IQ was as high as, Jason, Gary's, anybody's. Physically, he was more gifted physically than anybody.
Probably the best athlete to ever come out of Oakland. He was just as good as any of us. Could have been a professional basketball player. But like a lot of other sad stories out there, life in the streets got it.
Yeah, somebody, everybody.
I believe it's a lifestyle in which you start incorporating, and then next thing you know, you just be growing into something that you're not.
You're pushed as a young kid to be a man in Oakland. You leave mommy's apron pretty early, and kids come out of that environment and they're tough already.
When I started reaching a certain age, I knew what my mom was doing. I knew she was using drugs, and I believe 75% of the parents was using drugs back then. If it wasn't weed or drinking, it was, some hard drugs.
I didn't realize the magnitude of what was going on. All the killings and the gangs and the drugs. You knew it was there, but you really didn't realize it.
The parents are the key. They follow and the kids lead. The kids can't be the leader.
I almost didn't feel right if I looked up at the beginning of a game and didn't see my father sitting in the stands or hear his voice. Hook didn't have that support system.
My situation was a little different than everyone else's. I grew up without a mother and a father in my life, so I love them dearly for having me, but I never had that. So my grandmother raised me.
If you have a home where a young man is simply a handful for his mom, and she really doesn't know where to turn, eventually she might just throw her hands up. If there's a father in the home, that becomes a different kind of situation.
That's all he needed. He needed a father. I'm not saying anything about his father. I really don't even know his father. I never did know his father. I never seen his father.
I'm not one to complain or place fault at nothing. Maybe if some different cards would have been dealt to me, things would have been changed. But time is perfect. You can't change it. You just have to go through it.
There's got to be a person that you love as much as you love yourself. And most of the time, it's our parents. Most of the time, that's what it is. But sometimes it won't be. There's got to be something or someone that helps you get there.
If you don't have that, then, and you're basically raising yourself, or you have people that you think are your friends that are out in the streets that are encouraging you to do stuff because it's fun and you get away with it for a while.
The challenges of life in Oakland were hardly unique to Mitchell. Years later, Leon Poe was forced to face a harsh reality, familiar to many, after his father left the family when Leon was just 2.
I had no father figure, so I was always hanging out with the older cats on the street corners, the drug dealers, sometimes murderers, and I knew that. It's just that they looked out for me.
You can see the variance of kids who grow up in 2-parent homes, and Leon Poe, who basically grew up kind of on the street. He had a mother, but she was bouncing around with different fathers. Some make it, some don't.
I ain't been back here in a while. Feels real. That's just where it all, you know, where it all went down at. Fun stuff, good stuff, bad stuff. Just live on this block and the block over.
Tell me about his mom. I knew his family, little brothers and sisters. You know, he didn't ever say much about his dad. I didn't ask him. You know, I left him alone. To his credit, he handled it real well, but it was bad.
You got a lot of brothers and sisters, a lot. And I think they all were living together, and his little brother was playing with some matches. And he burned the apartment down.
I just remember coming home and just seeing the house, the place gone almost, like just all black. I was wondering what happened, and then they told me, little Tim, he just found some matches in between the couches and started playing with it and just light everything on fire.
And from that day on, they were literally homeless.
After the place burned down, that's when we went into a little tailspin, trying to find out where to stay, who to stay with, how we gonna get another place.
The stories started coming out. You know, you had guys like, man, you know, he lives in a car. You know, man, he homeless.
We heard about it through the paper. Like, he didn't even really talk about his problems. He just kind of went about his own business and tried to just do what he did, and that was it. He really didn't put his problems on other people.
We was in a number of different shelters that sent us on a down spiral. But my mom said everything happened for a reason, and you put in situations to see how you respond, and you know she wasn't gonna let that keep us down, and she did everything she could. We stay afloat and stay upbeat and happy, and try to live life normal like some regular kids.
I think he felt he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and you know, at a time with a young kid like that, I mean, you know, who's really prepared to do something like that?
We had to sacrifice sometimes eating every night to let one of our other little brothers and sisters eat. I had to sacrifice sometimes even going to school. I had to go watch them, you know, to stay home from school to watch the kids.
I couldn't even imagine raising my brothers and sisters, and I'm not even going to school because we all gotta watch each other. And that goes on for 1-2 years?
I know that wasn't normal, and my mom knew that wasn't normal. There was some days that I had to do it. And, you know, it was a lot of them days.
He could have easily turned his head and, you know, and strayed off in the wrong direction, but, you know, he stayed solid and stayed true to what he believed, and he pushed and made it. And he made it work for his family.
It was real tempting because they was getting they was making a lot of money out there on the street corners, but I seen some bad stuff go on with friends shooting each other and just stuff I didn't like and that I didn't really go by, and that wasn't really me. And I knew it, and I just said, you know, it gotta be another way. Gotta be.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
In Oakland, either you fight or you go home.
Lou, gotta get to 10 before they be a beheading.
If you want to live, you gotta fight.
That is a violent way of life, and it has terrorized the city of Oakland, California.
The drug game was a big thing in the early 80s and late 80s. Oakland had the nickname of Cokeland.
Money was coming so vast, you know, the crack epidemic and heroin was, I mean, it was a lot of money being made. People was making over like $20,000 a day in the drug trade.
This is where everybody used to grind at. So, back then, weed, cocaine, heroin, ecstasy.
In the street, you can have all of the glitz, all of the glamour, all of the bling. You can throw money away. Nobody cares how you got the money, as long as you're spending some of it on them.
Selling drugs and the money, it was an addiction, just like using drugs. Selling is an addiction. You get addicted to the money, you get addicted to the cars, to the women.
That allure to want that instant gratification was there. And the fact that it was a lot easier, that was kind of the tug of war between what is sports or is it drugs.
So this is like the place right here where we at, is like where everybody like kind of like sell drugs at. It's like kind of like Like right now, he maybe just sold him some drugs, Rayville. This guy right here, he ended up popping some pills.
Some of those guys, they got lost in things other than basketball. I mean, if they had stayed with basketball, they'd have been fine.
For me, I was selling cocaine. I was making so much money a week, I felt like I was in the NBA already.
In some ways, that persona that they sort of created on the basketball court may have been their undoing because they thought they could take it somewhere else and be something bigger than they were, and it worked against them in a lot of ways.
I took education serious until I ended up attending high school. One thing leads to another, start cutting class and then start hanging out, smoking weed, just being rebellious about life.
He was a superstar. When you're a superstar, you get what you want. You get women, money, and drugs.
Most of the time, it was either marijuana or cocaine.
It was a lot of drugs. I mean, you didn't have to go nowhere. I mean, I could just play basketball and end up with drugs. I know I had $1,000 worth of drugs on me at a time, at practice or playing basketball, I mean, like that, so.
When you're trying to figure all that stuff out at an early age, at a young age, you're really looking for guidance. You're really looking for somebody to tell you what to do.
At that time, I really didn't have nobody but the streets.
When you have that kind of talent and everybody wants to know you, everybody wants to advise you, everybody wants to tell you how great you are, and Hook was a guy who was susceptible to all of that, at the risk of imperiling his own career.
By the time he got to high school, he kind of started running with this guy named Larry Parker, who ended up being one of the biggest drug kingpins in Oakland. And at that point, things kind of changed for Hook.
I would ask Hook about it, and he was like, man, yeah, you know, sometimes he give me some shoes, or he'll take me to eat. You know, I feel like he's a big brother to me. You know, he know my situation, so he's just trying to help. Well, that's fine, but you can't be giving 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid, you know, weed or, you know, stuff like that. It just escalates and goes, you know, it goes too far.
He was at McClymonds, and he was a senior, and I started hanging with him. At the time, he was selling weed and going to school. He was making more money than the coach or the teachers at school.
Money. Money changed a man's mind.
Look at the money!
You see a boy with a lot of money, what you gonna see? You know, that's what they want.
At the time, you living in the moment, you making so much money, and we young, ain't really never had nothing to me. I mean, we was eating government cheese and government bread and government butter for so long. So when somebody get money, you mean kind of like drive you crazy for a minute.
I'm sure the coaches were doing the best they can, but the coach only has you for a couple hours a day.
He played 1 year JV, and he only played 1 year varsity. At one point, he became ineligible, and Hook was just a tremendous player on the court, but I think what derailed him was the stuff he was getting into off court.
When I was a senior in high school, it was like a little turf wars going on about North Oakland, West Oakland. I mean, a couple times people chased me from basketball practice, so it was hard for me to go to school at that time because then at that time I had a hit out on me. They was looking for Larry, so they knew I was with Larry.
Death in the Oakland streets, rival gangs involved in the drug trade, shooting it out. Almost a weekly occurrence.
I'm sure he understood that these guys weren't going to always be around. And some of them started, you know, getting killed while we were in high school. And so if you had been staying with this guy and he had been basically feeding you and taking care of you, whatever, and now he's dead, you know, what do you have? You know, you don't have nothing.
What happened with Hook, you can't blame totally on him. It was really, he was a sort of a victim of his environment in many ways, and he wasn't strong enough to overcome it. But I gotta tell you, it would have taken a lot of strength to overcome it.
He didn't graduate with us. That's when you start seeing it's a problem. Like, okay, now we're out of high school. I'm graduating in June, 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm leaving, going to college. Well,
Hook, what are you gonna do?
He saw the people that he was playing with and against going to the next level. And I think that he got caught up in the fact that people were praising him and the things that he could do athletically, that he thought that that would get him over the hump and allow him to have those same opportunities.
We started talking about junior college and stuff like that, but you know, there's a discipline there. You know, you gotta go to class, you gotta get your grades, and as crazy as it sounds, you just never did that.
When I went to Contra Costa, only time I came to school was when it was practice. You know what I mean? I wasted a lot of time not taking my education serious.
Unable to ignore the siren call of the streets, Hook Mitchell dropped out of school for good in 1990. Just 2 years later, his longtime friend and former Contra Costa College teammate, Bernard Ward, would encounter trouble of his own, spending 85 days behind bars on drug-related charges. 6 years before entering Leon Poe's life.
The way me and Leon met was he used to run with my little brother. And my little brother, he was tough. I mean, and he ended up in jail. He was stealing cars. So once my little brother went to jail, I had told Leon, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And I didn't even know Leon knew how to play basketball. This was a kid that I was just trying to save his life.
He just told me, if you wanted me to work with you, you know, I could work with you and help you out and just, you know, give me a call.
So that night, he had called me, I didn't answer. So he blew my phone up, and all this was a test. So okay, he's serious.
The thing that Bernard helped him with the most was discipline and focus.
Any given time, he could have just said F everything. I mean, Leon was somebody that, like myself, didn't take education seriously. And then he had some special people in his life that allowed him to see things clearer.
Because I had already made all the mistakes for him. Hook had already made all the mistakes for him. I took him around drug dealers. I took him around people that jack people. And what I said was, you know, you see them brothers out there on the corner? They really good people. But them ain't the people you need to be around if this what you trying to do.
We always got good wisdom, good advice. I listen to him to this day. It's just like father/mentor, brother thing. We just connected on all angles.
It takes a special guy to do what Bernard did, because I don't think he did it for any other reason but he cared about the kid.
I didn't even look at it as basketball. I looked at it as an opportunity that God gave us to help other people. This is gonna be so big that you're gonna be able to touch some lives, man. And he ended up doing that. I had a vision of that a long time ago.
When I first saw Leon, he was a ninth grader. He walked in the gym, knock-kneed, country boy, good size, big hands. First thing I noticed was he had big hands. So he said, I want to play basketball, Coach. I said, okay.
The first 4 games of my freshman year, I was suspended because I didn't make the 2.0 average. And, you know, I was overwhelmed a little bit at times and just seemed like I was lost a little bit in the classroom.
I said, you know, why are you struggling in this? He said, man, I don't always get my homework done. I said, well, why don't you just do your homework? He said, it's kind of hard. I was like, why? He said, well, he shares a room with like 2 other kids, one room. And it's just hard to study in there, it's tough. I said, well, why don't you go down in the kitchen or something and study? He said, oh no. I was like, what? He said, because the rats take over at night.
I just made a vow to myself that I was gonna do everything in my power. And what we did was come up with a plan, and I was gonna execute it until it failed. And I did it relentlessly and the whole time, and it paid off big time.
It's simple. You don't go to class, you don't play basketball. He loved basketball. So because, man, if you love basketball as much as you say you do, then you do whatever it takes to play. So he got the message.
Finally comfortable in the classroom and back on the court, Child Protective Services would soon intervene, placing Leon and younger brother Tim in a North Oakland foster home in 1998.
Police and them came into my mom's house, took me from over there in East Oakland, and brought me here.
The place he was staying, I just don't think they were treating him right. And I know there's limited resources and whatever, but the kid's got to eat. Kid needs clothes. I mean, it was to the point where he had no money to eat lunch. I mean, his way of eating lunch was drinking enough water till he was full. His clothing allowance was $120 for the year. So he would go buy a pair of pants and a shirt, and he was done.
I didn't want to be here at first. I wanted to be with my mom. Don't nobody want to be in no foster home, I know. You know, it ain't about because they bad, there's bad people in there. Nah, them was great people. It was just that you want to be with your own family sometimes.
Never give up hope, or never let your reality be bigger than your imagination. That's who I perceive Leon to be.
He was driven like nobody I've ever seen in my life. Driven.
Leon would be in every gym, just working out, you know, and everywhere you see him, he was there.
I went with the soldiers to work with them in the summer, and all the doors in the world opened up for me after that.
The Soldiers, an elite AAU program founded and based in Oakland, welcomed in the unpolished Poe prior to his sophomore year at Oakland Tech, only to discover a star in the making.
I've never seen a kid develop and take in information and apply it as fast as this kid.
I pick up things quick. When I was on the court, they'd tell me a move, I can do it in a game instantly. And I would know how to do it and know when to use it.
This kid went from being this good to this good, to this good, to this good, to this good, to this good in no time flat. It was amazing.
I just got better and better at the games. And more people came to see me, more and more people, more and more teams, more and more coaches. I even had pro scouts looking at me.
And you could see his self-esteem has changed, his confidence was up, and you could see it on the basketball court as well.
That's when I knew. I was just like, this is what I want to do. And then I just told myself, man, I can't stop here. I got to keep getting better.